What's up, YouTube? HPJ here, and I'm giving you guys a bit of a look at one of my favorite birds coming back into the game. My favorite big bird, Simorgh. And with the release of Rising Rampage, Simorgh has an entire archetype built around summoning big winged beast monsters, reducing the amount of cards for their tribute or reducing their level to help them summon themselves easily, and then being able to control the board. So it's a big bird battle. And it may not be one of the most competitive winged beast decks, but it's still an overall deck that can be enjoyed. And I am very, very excited about this. And I hope you guys are excited about this too. So, before I actually go in, the only cards that I don't have in this, multiple trade-ins, that's one. Two, I don't have Pot of Extravagances. They're extravagantly hard to get because of how much they are right now. And there is no indication of a reprint. So I do have to just, budget friendly with this deck. And the other card is Ryza, the Mega Monarch, which is actually a card I would recommend for a build of this variation. If you guys haven't seen the other video, check that out because I did run Pot of Extravagances in Ryza as some, additional ideas. That was a really good deck profile. So if you guys get the chance to see it, please check that out. So, without further ado, let's get into my IRL variation of Simorgh. So, for the monsters, I'll start off with the big birds. I'm running 2 copies of Simorgh, Lord of the Storm, 2 copies of Simorgh of Darkness, and 2 copies of Doc Simorgh. So, that is my lineup for my big birds. Now, we're going to move on to the smaller variation, and this is the Archetype Monsters deck for Simorgh himself. I'm running 3 copies of Simorgh, Bird of Bringing, and 3 copies of Simorgh, Bird of Beginning. I then run 2 copies of Simorgh, Bird of Protection, followed by 2 copies of Simorgh, Bird of Calamity. So that is it for the smaller birds in the deck. Then I'm running 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Springs. And that rounds about my monster lineup. For my spells, I am running 3 copies of Elborez, the Sacred Lands of Simorgh, followed by 3 copies of Simorgh Onslaught, then 2 copies of Simorgh Repulsion. And that is it for the Simorgh spells. Then for the rest of the spells in the main deck, I'm running 3 copies of Call by That Grave, 1 copy of Terraforming, 1 copy of Monarch Storm 4th, 1 copy of Upstart Goblin, and 1 copy of Trading. So that rounds out my spells. Then we talk about the traps, and I'm only running 2. 1 full set of Harpie's Featherstorm, and 1 full set of Anti-Spell Fragrance. So that is it for the main deck, 40 cards in total. And then we move on to the extra. I'm running 3 copies of Harvey Conductor, followed by 3 copies of Great Fly, 2 copies of Firefighting Darumidal, 2 copies of Winnie, the Wind Charmer Verdant. Then for the rest of those monsters, I'm running 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix, 1 copy of Nightmare Cerberus, 1 copy of Havis Vulgar, the Desperate Doom Eagle, then 1 copy of Beryl Sword Dragon, and 1 copy of Yuja Skulldread. So, that's pretty much it for both the main and the extra. So why don't we talk about it? Alright, so we need to talk about the big birds themselves. I think it's only right to talk about the first one being Simorgh, Lord of the Storm. So if you're not too familiar with Simorgh, Simorgh was the cover monster of the structure deck known as Lord of the Storm. Simorgh's whole gimmick is spell and trap control. But in this variation of it, Simorgh is focusing on itself being a tribute summon monster who will not be affected by spells, traps, and monster effects. Cannot be targeted by spell, traps, or monster effects when it is tribute summoned. Simorgh's other effect is when a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated, you can tribute a wind beast monster you control to select 1 card your opponent controls and return that card to the deck. Then you if you control a winged beast monster while that was destroyed, while this card's in the grave, you can retrieve it to your hand. Um, so some more in terms of its control setup, it just makes sure that when it's tribute summoned, it can be targeted by your opponent's card effects, which is great because now you have a 2900 attacker that your opponent has to either find a way to massively destroy cards on the field or have something big enough to swing at it. Luckily enough, if it ever falls to the grave, it can retrieve itself when a winged beast monster is controlled. That's why I ended up running two. It is one of those sequential question mark winged beasts because it's nothing that has anything to do with negation, but it does have something to do with removal. And removal can be very beneficial, especially when it's not removal through destruction. Then we have Simorgh of Darkness. So this is pretty much the counterpart to Dark Simorgh. This is also a level 8 winged beast monster, but it's dark attribute. While it's on the field in the graveyard, while it's on the field, it is treated as a wind monster. So similar to the original Dark Simorgh, it has the ability to treat itself as a wind monster. When a tribute summoned, wind or dark monster is on the field. When you tribute summon a wind or dark monster, you can set summon this card from your hand or graveyard to the board. So keyword here is tribute summon, which means you have to tribute summon to summon a wind or dark monster. Then you can set to summon this monster. If that monster was just tributed to be placed on the field, or it was summoned on the field, you can't set to summon Simorgh of Darkness. So do keep that in mind. This is just another high level winged beast, and with the amount of spells and traps that this deck has to offer to search for these birds, your 2 of is actually enough. If you want to run 3, of course there are those options, especially with the Mega Monarch Ryza. Yeah, that is just a beautiful combination in sight. So what does this birdie do? Well, besides having the ability to summon itself from the graveyard when a tribute summoned wind or dark monster is on the feet is summoned to the board, you can tribute one wind winged beast monster you control to negate the activation of a spell, trap, or monster effect and destroy it. So it has a negation effect, which unlike your Lord of the Storm, you can easily take advantage of. We're going to move on to the next big bird, and that is Doc Simorgh. So the original version of Simorgh of Darkness. So this birdie says, while it's on the field, it is treated as a wind monster. You can banish a wind and dark monster from your hand, so summons card from the grave, and you can banish a wind and dark monster in your grave, which also summons bird from your hand. While this card is on the field, your opponent cannot set cards, so it locks your opponent out of setting things. I am running the anti-spell fragrance lock, so that keeps that combination going. You have Simorgh on the field, so your opponent can't set anything. You have anti-spell fragrance, which forces your opponent to set their spells, so that locks out spells and traps. So the only thing you really have to deal with is monsters, and luckily enough, you have a lot of ways to deal with those in this game if you want to run those. And of course, I am running Feather Storm, so that helps out as well. So those are my 3 big birds. I'm only running 2 of each because I didn't want to clog up the hands. They are high-level winged beasts, so that can be a problem. Luckily enough, the support for Simorgh helped in that. So, as I talk about the level 4 lower Simorgh monsters, one thing I want to keep in mind is that they all have this same unique effect. If your opponent controls no spell and trap cards on the field, you can search to summon these cards from the graveyard, but they are banished when they leave the field. Also, for the rest of the turn, after these cards are summoned through their effect, the only monsters you can summon are winged beasts. So do keep that in mind. Now, we're going to start off with some more Bird of Beginnings. This monster's effect is when it's normal summon, you get an additional normal summon of a Simorgh monster for the turn. And because you have all these other ones that help you search for spells and traps, send spells and traps to the graveyard, and prepare your board for a summon of a big monster, like Simorgh of Darkness, Dark Simorgh, or Simorgh of the Lord of the Storm, you're going to really have a lot of utilization of that effect. Then we have Simorgh Bird of Bringings, another monster that I would recommend running at 3, because this monster has the ability to search your deck for a card that has Simorgh in its name. So you have all your big birds, you have any variations of your little birds, you have your spells, and your trap. I'm not running the trap because I think the trap is kind of very lackluster and really isn't as useful as it seems to be. It might change my mind. Maybe somebody finds a variation of build that can work with it. But for right now, it's just one of the things we leave on the side. We have Simorgh, Bird of Calamity. When this card is normal summon, it can send one Simorgh card from your deck to the graveyard. So it's the Foolish. It's one of the two cards in the archetype that it has the Foolish Burial effect. Also, funny enough, these monsters are not all the same level. 1, 2, 3, and the next one here, Simorgh, Bird of Protection, is a level 4. This bird has the ability that when it's normal summon, you select a spell or trap on your opponent's side of the field and return that card to hand. This happens to be the highest attacked level 4 or lower Simorgh monster. It being having to have 15. No, actually no, it has 14. It's the second because Calamity has 15. But all these birds share that unique setup of looking like a Simorgh card, especially Simorgh Bird of Beginnings, because it looks exactly like, well, Simorgh Bird of Divinity. Alright, so we have talked about the little guys, and the only one card left to talk about in the main deck is my Ash Blossoms in Joyous Springs. Primarily running Ash Blossom as the hand trap, just because even though it's early in the format to determine what cards will work with what, this is one of the monsters I honestly have to say is still a prominent hand trap because decks still search for cards. Decks still try to social summon cards from deck. There are cards that like to send cards to the graveyard, so take advantage of this as much as you possibly can. There can be other combinations of hand traps, but for right now, I'm just focusing on, well, her and seeing how far I can go with her in the main deck. Alright, we're going to move on to the spells. We have to talk about the field spell. This is Elborez, the Sacred Lance of Simorgh. So this card helps out get a lot of your big birds. First of all, it gives 300 attack and defense to all winged beast monsters you control. So even if, no matter what type they are, all the winged beasts on the field will gain 300 attack and defense. This is actually the second card in the Yu-Gi-Oh games to, boost up winged beast monsters. Because the second field spell would have to be Harpie's Hunting Ground and then Mountain. But Harpie's Hunting Ground has additional effects attached to it, just like Elborez. Now, let's talk about those additional effects. You can easily reveal one level 5 or higher when Winged Beast monster in your hand. And then for the rest of the turn, you can the normal sum of a Winged Beast monster is one less tribute, even if this card leaves the field, so it helps you bring out a lot of those bigger birds, especially if you can do it by one tribute. Then, immediately after you activate this card's effect, you can gain the effect to get an additional normal summon of a Winged Beast monster. So, funny enough, this helps you stack on a lot of effects, especially with cards like Bird of Beginning, Bird of Bringing. Like, you have a lot of synergy with additional summons, especially when you want to bring out Simorgh of Darkness or Bark Simorgh or Simorgh Lord of the Storm. There is another Simorgh monster I want to run. Unfortunately, I don't have any copies of it, and that is Simorgh. Well, I have one copy of it, but I don't have another, and that's Simorgh Bird of Anistry, and that's simply because it has a return effect. It's a high level winged beast monster. It fits in the Simorgh lineup. But just unfortunately, it's limited on how many I have. But if you want to run Simorgh Bird of Anistry, you can. Actually, I can give you guys a little peek of what this card looks like, just to show what you guys, what exactly I'm talking about. This is Simorgh Bird of Anistry. And, yeah. Alright, so we're going to move on. We're going to move on to Simorgh Onslaught. So this is the Foolish Burial. This is the search in the Foolish Burial for Simorgh. You discard a Winged Beast monster from your hand. You search your deck for 2 Simorgh monsters, but they cannot share the same name or attribute. So you pretty much can go get one of your dark birds and then go and get one of your little birds. In combination with the field spell, it is great because then you can normal summon one, get the additional normal summon of another, and then just go on from there. Now, the other effect of this card is if this card's in your graveyard, you can banish it. Then reduce the level of all winged. Then reveal one Winged Beast monster in your hand. Then reduce the level of all Winged Beast monsters in your hand by 1. This doesn't restrict any of the attributes or anything, so it helps there. I believe this is the one that doesn't. Yeah, neither of them restrict attributes, so it just says type. which is great because you can summon Simorgh of Darkness with a little more ease. You can summon Simorgh Storm, get a lot of those onto the field. Then the last one is Simorgh Repulsion. This is pretty much the one-sided giant true name. Discard a winged beast, return all spells and traps your opponent controls back to their hand. And just like Onslaught, you can banish it from your graveyard to reduce the level of a winged beast monster in your hand by 1 by revealing a winged beast monster in your hand. So yeah, a lot of support for the tribute summon of big birds and a lot of love for these big birds. Now with that out of the way, we can move on to the rest of the other spells. I'm running Call by the Grave to help deal with nasty monster effects, especially because, well, you don't want your opponent to hit you with Ash Blossoms, you don't want your opponent to hit you with Bellas, you don't want your opponent to hit you with a lot of things. So Call by the Grave is a great option. And also, it helps you with a lot of other monster effects that want to trigger in the graveyard. So if you banish them to negate them, then they can't get those effects. Next up is one copy of Terraforming, and that's simply because it helps you search for your field spell. Sadly enough, there's only one Terraforming in both the TCG and the LCG. Then we have one copy of Monarch Storm 4th. This is actually a card a lot of people have been testing because it's an easier way to help you tribute summon your monsters. What's even better about this is that you can use your opponent's monsters, but you can't access your extra deck for the rest of the turn. Perfectly fine, because at this point, you got all these giant birds. I was considering if I wanted to run multiples of this, but there's also a lot of other cards I'm considering if I want to run multiples of because of how useful it is to this deck. You have level 8 monsters, you have monster genies and tribute, you need assistance to help tribute those monsters, so this can be one of those setup cards as well. I'm running one All-Star Goblin and one Trade-In. First, I need to draw power. 2, Trade-In helps get rid of the dead level 8s. If I had multiple trade-ins, then it would be 2 trade-ins instead of trade-in upstart. Or maybe 2 trade-ins, 1 upstart, just because it's that additional draw power that you can get. And just like that, you can easily have an additional card in your hand. Our trade-in actually gives you 2, which is just 1 more than what upstart does, and you don't have to give your opponent's life. But yeah, that is All-Star Goblin, trade-in. Then I move on to my traps, triple Harpie's Feather Storm. This is just honestly a great service for Simorgh because it allows you to deal with monster effects. While you're dealing with spells and traps, thanks to Dark Simorgh, because Dark Simorgh is a win monster on the board, you can easily flip this over during your opponent's turn. You have Harvey Conductor in the extra deck, so you can take advantage of her being a Harpie monster and drop her onto the board. And you drop this onto the board while she's on the board because, well, she's a Harvey monster. You can trigger to activate this card's effect from your hand. And then the last trap in the deck is the AntiSpell Fragrance. And this is primarily in combination with Dark Simorgh. If you're not too familiar with the Dark Simorgh AntiSpell Fragrance, let's just put it like, I easily can put it back to you guys together like this. While AntiSpell Fragrance is on the field, your opponent cannot set spells or traps, and your opponent must set spell cards and wait a turn to activate them. While Dark Simorgh is on the field, your opponent cannot set cards on the board. So, no trap cards, and thanks to anti-spell, that means no spell cards. So, in combination with that, the only other thing you have to worry about is monster effects, and that's why we have this. So, that is that combination there, and its history with Simorgh. And now we're going to move on to the extra deck. So, even though I don't have Pot of Extravagance, I want to keep this extra deck as fresh as possible, with also a lot of utility cards to help it. No Exceed monsters, all Link, and I think that might be actually enjoyable for a lot of people. So, triple Harvey Conductor, because she can easily be summoned thanks to a lot of these win monsters in the deck. While I control another spell or trap card, I can destroy it instead of them destroying her. But the main purpose of her, besides being an accessible win monster for a Link summon, is the fact that she is a Harpie. So, you can activate Harpie's Feather Storm from your hand. And because they're all winged beasts, you get that additional you get the effects to go off, but you have a Harpie on the field, so you can trigger it from your hand. Next up is Great Fly. If it isn't recovery, Great Fly has that 500 additional attack and defense that it can give to all your wind monsters. While Simorgh and Simorgh of Dark Simorgh and Simorgh of Darkness are on the board, remember they are treated as wind monsters, so they gain that attack as well. Give Boris some love as well, and you have some very high attack, high level wind monsters that can take out anything that gets in their way. Firefighting the Rumadal. I wanted an answer for two different variations. One, I wanted a card to help me retrieve my birds from the banish. Two, I wanted a card that helps me get rid of spells and traps, even in the extra deck, and I think this was a good call because I'm still running a Winnie Beast setup. I chose to run two of these little guys because, of course, I am restricted and bound by the summon of a Winged Beast monster, and we're also restricted in some cases to wind being the aspect of it. But I at least wanted to fit in Daruma for the support Daruma can give to a Winged Beast deck. Now moving on from that, we have Winnie the Wind Charmer Verdant. This lovely lady is primarily here in case you run into some random mirror match of wind. She is, of course, a Witch of the Black Forest when she was linked summoned while she's on the field. No, I think it's when this monster is onto the graveyard by opponent's card effect while in the monster zone. So she has to be in the monster zone. Yay! But she gets the Witch of the Black Forest effect, which can be handy for a lot of your monsters. Alright, then we move on from Winnie. Otherwise, you can just use Winnie as a fodder for other Link monsters. I'm running one copy each, of course, of my little Nightmare engine. Nightmare Cerberus, Nightmare Phoenix. Cerberus to help clear out monsters, Phoenix to help clear out spells and traps. Then we have Havas Vulgar, the Desperate Doom Eagle. The only reason why this monster is in here, honestly, is because it's a high-ranked Winged Beast monster. 2400 attack isn't too bad for an extra deck monster for a Winged Beast. However, this monster only does one thing, and that's return monsters in the graveyard back into the deck. So, if you're not banishing them through something, you're obviously hitting them back. However, that can backfire because then they can have the access to use it again. But while this monster, and then the thing about this monster is that where there's no monster in your opponent's graveyard, its attack and defense are increased by 2400. So it would outright make it a 4800 attacker. But that's about it. There's like no other beneficial thing. Even its link markers aren't too beneficial because we have a lot of others to point in different directions. The main reason why it's here is because it is at least a beat stick in some of those cases, and your opponent has to find ways to get around it. Then for the last, of course, the high linked rating monsters. Of course, we have Barrel Sword and Sarah Yuja. I was very skeptical about Sarah Yuja only because of the fact that it is an earth monster, not a wind. But I figured if you ever get the chance to summon Sarah Yuja, take advantage of it. If not, at least you'll have enough link monsters on your board to at least go into something like Barrel Sword. And then if you do need to go into your Sarah Yuja, at least it'll help you with the hand correction, the additional attack bonus, and then just an overall sense of feeling that helps, such a small deck have its advantage to get such a bigger board or get enough power to run over stuff. So that is pretty much it for the deck profile, everybody. I do hope you all enjoy. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I hope to see you guys next time. Don't forget to hit that bell for notifications of when I do some of my uploads. Alright, everybody, HBJ signing out. Take care.